Our next speaker is Cecily Routman. Ms. Routman founded the Jewish Pro-Life Foundation, a 501c3 educational organization, in 2006. She's a native of Pittsburgh, and she obtained her master's in social work from the University of Pittsburgh. Cecily is a member of Congregation Haveth Achim, a traditional synagogue located in Carnegie, Pennsylvania, as well as a member of Beit Emmanuel, I think I'm saying this, Beit Amuna. She and her husband Tom live here in the Pittsburgh area, and since its founding, the Jewish Pro-Life Foundation has been saving Jewish lives by promoting life-saving solutions to unplanned pregnancy within the Jewish community. The foundation provides education about the development, viability, and sanctity of unborn life, as well as traditional Jewish law regarding abortion. Ms. Rothfus.
Thank you, Keith. And thank you, David, for your courageous efforts to let the world know about the atrocities being perpetrated at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Laboratories. And thank you to the organizers of this event for allowing the Jewish Pro-Life Foundation to speak here today. Welcome, everyone. When I learned of the devastating torture and execution of living babies to procure their organs for medical research at Pitt, I immediately recalled the horror stories I'd learned about the Auschwitz death camp, where Jewish prisoners were tortured during medical experiments, including having their internal organs removed without the use of pain medication. Most perished, but a few survived. Here's an account of one such survivor from Newser. An Auschwitz survivor finally saw a doctor for the first time in 65 years after suffering a near-fatal heart attack. Upon recovery, the 85-year-old Israeli man explained why. As a young man imprisoned at the camp, notorious Nazi doctor Joseph Mengele tied him to a table and removed his kidney without anesthesia. Quote, "I saw the kidney pulsing in his hand and I cried like a crazy man. I screamed the Shema Yisrael. I begged for death to stop the suffering." End quote. Jews in Auschwitz were captive subjects of medical experiments done without anesthesia. They lacked personhood and protection under law. The babies who are tortured and sacrificed for medical experimentation at Pitt similarly are denied personhood and protection under law. In correspondence with Pennsylvania state lawmakers, Vice Chancellor Paul Subowitz said that no wrongdoing is happening at the university. Mr. Subowitz and guests here today, I ask you, did Joseph Mengele and his ilk do nothing wrong? Is the university doing nothing wrong? Assistant Vice Chancellor of Communications David Selden justifies Pitt's racial quotas in their medical research as defensible efforts helpful to minority communities. He is on record saying that the university has no accountability in connection with how infant tissue is harvested, even though university faculty and staff work in conjunction with local and university-connected abortion clinics. Nazi propagandists claimed that racially targeted torture in medical experiments was excusable for humanitarian purposes. To explain the concentration camp experiments, Nazi doctor August Hirt supplied this rationale, quote, "These condemned men will at least make themselves useful," he said. "Wouldn't it be ridiculous to execute them and send their bodies to the crematory oven without giving them an opportunity to contribute to the progress of society?" End quote. Mr. Selden and guests here today, I ask you, did Dr. Hirt and his ilk do nothing wrong? Is the university doing nothing wrong? With every induced abortion and every exploitation of that baby for profit, personal gain, or political power, never again becomes once again. Not only in America, but also in communist China, where the CCP tortures and executes thousands of innocent people every year in order to harvest their internal organs for sale. Most of the world continues to do business with China, despite much evidence of this and other human rights atrocities. Sad to say, America has sunk to the level of the godless communists and brutal fascists by doing the same to our most defenseless citizens and carrying on business as usual. History shows that the human heart and mind can be shaped by messaging, example, and education. Noted psychologist Jordan Peterson warns us that each one of us is capable of being a guard at Auschwitz. The power of propaganda and coercion is how a nation that once respected the right to life for all its citizens has dehumanized infant life and come to accept abortion as birth control. And it is how a university health system rationalizes torturing infants as a normal, ethically defensible element of medical research. It is the explanation of how an abortionist can destroy infants in the womb for a sizable fee and induce live births of viable, healthy infants, and working with university researchers, excise livers, kidneys, hearts, scalps, brains, and arms and legs from these flourishing youngsters for a huge profit. Does the audience here today know that later-term abortion from which these infants are obtained costs $8,000 to $15,000, and that infant brains cost $3,300, and livers cost $600, and arms and legs cost $860? And these prices were quoted before the current inflation. German public health officials first executed the mentally and physically disabled, later expanding their murderous public health schemes to include millions of Jews and other marginalized groups. Do you think that the NIH will go no further than babies with their funding of gruesome medical research projects? History suggests that immoral and tyrannical public health programs will expand to include many other Americans who remain undisturbed and unaffected today. The Jews and other prisoners in the death camps were liberated in 1945 by Allied forces led by United States soldiers. At that time, our nation protected human rights and civil liberties at home and abroad. Our government no longer protects the weak and the powerless. On the contrary, our government targets the youngest among us for legalized destruction and pays for it through our tax dollars. Our representatives are not coming to the rescue of these children without great pressure from American citizens to defund any activities that torture and slaughter infant life. From abortion methods done without pain medication that starve, poison, and dismember their perfect bodies, and from the pain and terror of organ procurement once aborted infants are out of the womb and alive and breathing. After defunding, the precedent of the Nuremberg trials held after World War II can be used to designate medical experimentation on helpless infants as criminal acts and prosecute those responsible. The screams of pain and terror of these innocent babies go unrecorded, but scream they do. And we must give them justice and dignity by doing all we can to stop the madness. I leave you with this quote from Proverbs 24. Rescue those being led away to death. Hold back those staggering towards slaughter. If you say, but we knew nothing about this, does not he who weighs the heart perceive it? Does not he who guards your life know it? Will he not repay everyone for what they have done? Thank you for your attention.